Yeah.
I'm just going to say something here, and you tell me if it's a 0.0% chance. Are the Rams trying to avoid Detroit?
What, and avoid all the headlines and the storylines and the Real Housewives?
I mean, I would think if my team were in the 6th position, that it would be pretty simple. I'd be playing, it would be worth it to be the higher seed.
Do I think that they are avoiding? I mean, you can make that argument, and I won't disagree with it.
And
I think you can make that argument.
Here's why. Even if it's not about if you're the 7 seed and you win, you go to the 1 seed. You go to the 1 seed. The 1 seed's playing the lowest remaining team. That's at San Francisco. It feels like it's San Francisco and then a bit of a step down, and then Detroit, Dallas, Philly, then a step down on everybody else. So they are willing to risk having to go to San Francisco in the second round. I mean, I think it's kind of significant. If I were a Rams fan, I might be looking at this going, are we sure we want to rest everybody?
Well, maybe are you answering your own question when you think about it? Because who are they playing this weekend?
They're playing San Francisco.
They're playing San Francisco. So if they feel like they could be destined to meet up with San Francisco if they win the first round, if they win the first round game, they go into the second round, they're going to play San Francisco.
Yeah.
Why give San Fran any more film on them than necessary? Rest your guys.
Because if you win the game, you don't play San Francisco until the NFC Championship game if you get there. And at that point, I mean, they've seen them anyway.
Wait a second. If they win
the game,
let's say they play Dallas,
they'd still probably go to San Francisco.
They'd still play San Francisco.
They'd probably still go to San, but they're not guaranteed to.
Pretty much are. I mean, if they come in as the
6th seed, the 7th seed could win and send the 7th seed to San Francisco. You're right. It's still probable. Yeah. I don't know, man. I just feel like the Rams have something to play for, and they're not. And is it a 0.0% chance that they are trying to avoid Detroit?
I don't think it's 0.0%. I'm sure there's some percentage that they look at how they match up. As a Lions fan, trying to look at this objectively, I think the matchups, I have no issue matching up with the Rams. You got an immobile quarterback in Matthew Stafford. The strength of the Rams is their ability to run the football, and the strength of the Lions is their ability to stop the run. So I like this matchup. The question I have following this up is, if you're the Lions, taking all the outside noise out of this, just strictly game day, would you rather face the Rams or the Packers?
I don't care. I think they should beat them both.
Yeah.
As you said, take away the noise, take away the sidebar, take away the Real Housewives stuff. I don't care. But since that stuff's there, I want to play Green Bay.
But what's the better matchup, though, Doug, in your mind? Take away the noise, like Gator said. I think the better matchup are the Rams. And I'll tell you why. One big reason why.
Packers are dangerous.
I think McVay's scared for a reason. Honestly. And I do think he's scared, by the way. I think Goff is a big reason why. Goff knows McVay. He knows that offense. He don't want to play the Lions, dude. McVay's avoiding the Lions on purpose.
You really believe that?
Absolutely.
Lean into it, man. Go.
Wow.
Absolutely. He's scared of Goff. Goff's revenge.
I
scared of Brad Holmes.
Yep.
It doesn't seem as though Goff has buried McVay, but he hasn't shied away from it. Like,
it's the biggest chip on his shoulder, I think.
He wasn't. That story Peter King did with him, remember we read from it earlier in the year? I want to go back and see if I can find it. He wanted to meet with McVay after he traded him.
Yep.
And wanted to know why. He wanted, many players don't ask for an exit interview when they've been traded. Goff insisted on one. And it sounds to me like Goff has channeled what he heard to his benefit.
I think the biggest chip cultivated by Jared Goff out of all the chips that you can cultivate is Sean McVay.
Interesting.
I think he's pissed because he was scapegoated, man. He was absolutely scapegoated.
All this guy's
the Rams.
fault.
Yeah. So I can't work anymore with this. He's got a ceiling. We're done. I had to move on from him. They moved on from him. He had surgery, and then days later he's forced into duty because the other quarterback gets hurt, and he still wins the game. And now there's some egg on the face of Sean McVay, even though it's not like Goff was vintage Goff throwing for 300 yards and multiple touchdowns.
Right.
But they did enough to win the game. He couldn't wait. He could not wait to get rid of Jared Goff. And look, getting a quarterback like Stafford was obviously beneficial to that team, and it paid off for them. They won a Super Bowl. But now, trade's a few years down the road, and I think maybe one of the smartest things Goff ever did was find out why.
Mm-hmm.
And if McVay was honest with him and said, well, here's why I think you're deficient, and then Goff gets to work on those things and comes to a situation where everyone believes in him, confidence through the roof, chip on a shoulder as high as the Empire State Building, let's go.
I think revenge has a lot to do with it, but I'm telling you, I think it's strategic. I think McVay is one of these guys who thinks he's smarter than everybody, right, Gator?
Yep.
So he knows he is. I don't care what you say. Goff was really good there, at least for a point. They went to the freaking Super Bowl, right? He knows how McVay thinks. He knows how that offense runs. He knows. So I think that has a big part of it. Part of the reason why he's avoiding us. He's scared.
Let's flip the script here a little bit. I don't think it's the case, but let's ask the question. Is Stafford motivated to beat Detroit the way Goff is motivated to beat the Rams?
He could be, but
not as much, right, Gator?
You would think that because he's won the Super Bowl, it hasn't satisfied everything, because once you win, you get that taste. You want to keep going back and win more and more.
But there's a little bit of self-satisfaction that it doesn't matter what anybody says. I can't hear you because of the ring is stuck in my ear.
Right, but the thing with Stafford is Lions didn't want to move on from Stafford. The Lions wanted Matthew Stafford to stay here.
Right.
Stafford approached the Lions.
It's completely different.
Let me get out of here.
Yeah, it's a different scenario. But
he would just want to beat him just because.
Yeah, it was an amicable split.
Yeah.
Goff getting traded was not an amicable split.
No, and plus, with my point for Goff and why McVay wants to avoid the Lions doesn't exist with Stafford, because it's completely new staff, new offense, and all that. He doesn't know anything here.
Okay, this from Phil So Good 313 on Twitch.
Phil.
To be honest, guys, that's not how teams are wired. They're strictly resting players to put their best foot forward in the playoffs. At the end of the day, it's the playoffs. Avoiding a particular team isn't a strategy. Playing and winning a game is the only strategy. I think he's more right than wrong. But it's an interesting question. It's interesting to think about. And I wouldn't, as you said, you don't think it's 0.0, and I don't think it is either. And Kang clearly doesn't think it is.